Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be diving deep, as the name suggests, into AI and how it's impacting academic research.
Mm,
And look, I know you're busy. We're all busy. You want the info, but you don't want to wade through like a million articles and dense textbooks, right?
exactly.
So that's our job today. We've gone through a ton of material, articles, reports, even some opinions from experts, all to bring you the key takeaways on AI and research. Think of this as your super concentrated AI research knowledge shot.
Mm.
No filler, just the good stuff.
We'll be covering how AI is already transforming the way research is done, the potential pitfalls to watch out for, and some actual tools researchers are using right now. And we'll even touch on some of the bigger questions AI raises, like, what does it even mean to do research in an age of thinking machines?
Right. So we're not just talking about fancy algorithms here. We're
Right.
talking about a fundamental shift in how knowledge is created and shared. It's a pretty big deal, and it's happening now. I mean, think about it. Powerful AI models, the kind that can generate text and analyze data like nobody's business, are becoming increasingly accessible. Like it's not just for big tech companies anymore.
That's right. And it's really impacting all aspects of research, from the initial stages of finding relevant information to actually writing and publishing papers.
Yeah, okay, so let's start with that. How is AI actually changing the game for researchers?
Well, one of the most obvious benefits, and maybe the one people feel the most immediately, is how AI is speeding up the process of, well, everything. Think about literature
Ugh,
reviews.
yeah, literature reviews.
Traditionally, researchers would spend weeks, if not months, just reading through stacks of papers, trying to get a handle on what's already been done in their field.
It's such a time suck, right?
It really is. But AI is changing that. There are AI-powered tools now that can actually analyze hundreds, even thousands of articles in a fraction of the time it would take a human. They can summarize key findings, identify the most relevant studies, and even visualize how different papers are connected through citations.
It's like having a super-powered research assistant, right? One that never gets tired and can read a whole library in like a day.
Yeah,
That's got to free up a ton of time for researchers to actually think and do more creative work.
absolutely. And time is something researchers never seem to have enough of. By taking on these more tedious tasks, AI is enabling researchers to focus on the higher level thinking that's essential for good research, asking the right questions, making connections between different ideas, and interpreting data in meaningful ways.
Okay, so that's literature reviews.
Huh.
But AI is also doing some pretty mind-blowing things in terms of scientific discovery itself. I mean, we're talking about breakthroughs that wouldn't have been possible without AI.
Right. Take, for example, DeepMind's AlphaFold 2, which has basically cracked one of the biggest problems in biology. It can predict the 3D structures of proteins.
And for those who don't know, proteins are these incredibly complex molecules that are essential for life.
Yeah.
They do everything from building cells to fighting off diseases.
Exactly. And knowing their structure is key to understanding how they work. This was a problem that had stumped scientists for decades, but AlphaFold 2 has pretty much solved it. It's a huge deal for drug development, disease research, and basically our understanding of how life works at a fundamental level.
It's like, I don't know, it's like figuring out the blueprint of life or something. And then there's the whole field of drug discovery. I read about this AI that helped discover a whole new type of antibiotic.
Oh yeah, Hallicin.
That's it.
Researchers at MIT used an AI system to analyze millions of molecules and identify potential candidates for new antibiotics. And Hallicin is the first one to be discovered entirely through AI.
And it's effective against bacteria that have become resistant to other antibiotics.
Which is a huge problem, right? Antibiotic resistance is one of the biggest threats to global health. So the fact that AI can help us find new weapons in this fight is incredibly exciting.
And it's not just biology and medicine. AI is making waves in physics, climate science, materials engineering, basically every field you can think of. It's being used to run complex simulations, analyze massive data sets, and even generate hypotheses.
Right. It's really accelerating the pace of research in every discipline. It's like having a tireless research partner that can crunch numbers, explore possibilities, and point you in new directions.
Okay, so we've talked about AI helping with literature reviews and making scientific breakthroughs. But what about the actual writing process? Can AI help researchers write better papers?
Oh, absolutely. This is another area where AI is having a big impact. We're seeing tools that can help with brainstorming, organizing ideas, summarizing information from different sources, and even refining language and grammar.
I mean, honestly, writing is the bane of many researchers' existence. So if AI can help with that, sign me up.
Right. One report outlined 6 key areas where AI can assist with academic writing: generating ideas, structuring content, synthesizing literature, managing data, editing, and even ensuring ethical compliance. Think about using AI to get feedback on the clarity of your arguments or to suggest alternative ways to organize your paper. It's like having an editor and a writing coach all in one.
And for researchers who aren't native English speakers, these tools can be especially helpful. They can ensure that the writing is clear, concise, and meets the standards of international journals.
That's a great point. And beyond writing, AI is also playing a role in coding, which is becoming increasingly important in many research fields. There are tools that can help write and debug code, which can save researchers a lot of time and frustration.
It's all about making the research process more efficient and allowing researchers to focus on what they're best at: thinking, analyzing, and interpreting data. And we're seeing AI being used in experiments and simulations too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fields like chemistry and material science, AI can help design and optimize experiments, which can speed up the process of discovery. And in engineering, AI-powered simulations are helping to design everything from aircraft to microchips.
So basically, AI is like this super versatile tool that's being applied in all sorts of ways to accelerate and enhance research.
Mm.
But it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Yeah.
There are definitely some potential downsides and limitations we need to talk about.
Right. I mean, AI is a powerful technology, but it's not magic. And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's important to go into this with a realistic understanding of what AI can and can't do.
So let's get into the warnings. What are some of the biggest concerns about using AI in research?
Well, one of the things that worries people, and rightfully so, is the issue of accuracy. AI, especially generative AI, can sometimes produce information that sounds totally convincing but is actually false. It's called hallucination.
Hallucination, like the AI is seeing things that aren't there.
In a way, yeah. It's basically generating information that isn't grounded in reality. This happens because these models are trained on massive amounts of data, and they learn to generate text that statistically resembles the patterns in that data, but they don't necessarily understand the meaning of what they're producing.
So they can spit out things that sound right but are actually completely made up.
Exactly. And in a research context, that's a big problem. Imagine an AI generating fake citations or making up data to support a claim.
That's like academic dishonesty on steroids.
It is. And a recent study found that ChatGPT, one of the most popular generative AI tools, frequently produces fake scientific citations.
Really? Like, how often are we talking?
The study found it could be anywhere from 6% to 60% depending on the field. And what's even more concerning is that these fake citations often include real author names and journal titles.
Oh, wow. So they look totally legit at first glance. I mean,
Yeah.
that could really mislead researchers and even lead to the spread of misinformation.
Right. And it highlights the importance of being really careful about using AI-generated information in research. Always verify, always double-check, and never just blindly trust what an AI tells you.
So even if an AI cites its sources, you can't just assume those sources are real.
Exactly. You got to do your due diligence. And it's not just about citations. AI can also make subtle errors in how it interprets data or explains concepts. It's really important to remember that AI should be a tool to augment human intelligence, not replace it.
Okay, so accuracy is one big concern. What else? What about bias? I've heard a lot about how AI can perpetuate existing biases.
Yeah, that's another really important issue. AI systems are trained on data. And if that data contains biases, the AI will likely reflect those biases in its outputs. This can lead to all sorts of problems, from overlooking contributions from certain groups of researchers to reinforcing harmful stereotypes.
Can you give an example of how that might play out in research?
Sure. Let's say you're using an AI tool to analyze a bunch of research papers on a particular topic. If the historical data that the AI was trained on underrepresented research from, say, women scientists or scientists from developing countries, the AI might inadvertently downplay the importance of those contributions. Or if the AI is being used in social science research and the data it was trained on contains racial or gender biases, those biases could show up in the AI's analysis and conclusions.
So the AI could unintentionally reinforce existing inequalities.
Exactly. And that could have real-world consequences if that research is used to inform policy decisions or social programs. It's crucial for researchers to be aware of these potential biases and to carefully evaluate the results they're getting from AI tools. It's about using AI responsibly and ethically.
Okay, accuracy bias. What about the fact that many AI models are basically black boxes? We don't really know how they're making their decisions.
Yeah, the lack of transparency is another big concern. Many AI models, especially those based on deep learning, are very complex. It can be difficult, even for the people who created them, to fully understand how they arrive at their conclusions.
So if a researcher is using an AI to, like, analyze data or identify potential drug candidates, they might not be able to explain why the AI made those choices.
Right. And that can be a problem for scientific transparency and reproducibility. One of the cornerstones of science is being able to explain how you got your results so that others can verify and build on your work. But if
hmm
you're relying on an AI that you don't fully understand, that becomes more difficult.
It's like, hey, the AI says this is the answer, but I don't really know why.
Right. And that can erode trust in the research findings. There's a growing movement in the AI community to develop more transparent and explainable AI models, but it's still a challenge. In the meantime, researchers need to be upfront about the limitations of the AI tools they're using and be cautious about overinterpreting results that they don't fully understand.
And with all this talk about AI generating text, there's also the issue of academic integrity. I mean, if AI can write a paper, what's to stop students from just letting the AI do their homework for them?
Yeah, that's a legitimate concern. The ease with which AI can generate text raises all sorts of questions about plagiarism, authorship, and academic honesty. We're already seeing cases of students trying to pass off AI-generated work as their own.
I bet. And it's not just students. I imagine some researchers might be tempted to, like, let the AI write a whole section of their paper or something.
Right, and that raises ethical questions. Who gets credit for the work? Is it plagiarism if the AI is essentially drawing on existing sources without proper attribution?
Mm.
These are tricky questions that the academic community is grappling with.
Well, what's the solution?
Well, for one, it's important to be transparent about the use of AI in research. Many journals and universities are now requiring authors to disclose if and how they use AI in their work.
Kind of like a disclaimer. No AIs were harmed in the making of this paper.
Haha, yeah, something like that. But seriously, transparency is key. And it's also important to remember that over-reliance on AI could actually hinder learning and skill development. If students are constantly relying on AI to do their writing or their research for them, they might not develop the critical thinking and research skills they need to succeed in their field.
So it's about finding the right balance, right? Using AI as a tool to support human intelligence, not as a crutch.
Exactly. And the ethical use of AI in research is an ongoing conversation. It's something we need to keep talking about as AI becomes more powerful and more integrated into the research process.
Okay, another concern that comes to mind is data privacy. Researchers are often dealing with sensitive information, and if they're uploading that data to AI platforms, how can they be sure it's being handled responsibly?
That's a really important point. When using third-party AI tools, researchers need to be very careful about data security and privacy. They need to make sure that the platform they're using is secure and that they're complying with all relevant privacy regulations.
I mean, we've all heard stories about data breaches and companies misusing data. It would be a nightmare if sensitive research data ended up in the wrong hands.
Absolutely. And some AI platforms might use the data you upload to further train their models. While this can be beneficial for improving the AI, it also raises privacy concerns. Researchers need to be aware of these potential risks and take steps to protect their data. This might involve using platforms that offer strong privacy guarantees or anonymizing data before uploading it.
So it's about being proactive and informed, right?
Mm,
Not just blindly trusting that the AI company will handle your data responsibly.
exactly. Data privacy is paramount, especially in research where you're often dealing with personal information or confidential findings.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the potential pitfalls. But at the end of the day, the big question is, can AI truly replace human researchers?
That's a question that a lot of people are asking, and it's one that philosophers and ethicists are debating. While AI is incredibly powerful, there are certain things it can't do. It doesn't have the same kind of creativity, intuition, or moral judgment that humans have.
It's like AI can analyze data and generate hypotheses, but it can't really understand the nuances of a research problem or make value judgments about what's important or ethical.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that AI is a tool created by humans. It reflects our biases, our values, and our limitations. It's up to us to use AI responsibly and ethically, and to ensure that it's used to advance human knowledge and well-being.
So it's not about AI versus humans. It's about AI and humans working together.
Right. The best research will likely come from a collaboration between human expertise and AI's capabilities. It's about leveraging the strengths of both.
Okay, so now that we've covered the benefits, the risks, and the big picture questions, let's get practical. What are some specific AI tools that researchers are using right now?
Okay, so there's a whole landscape of AI tools out there, and it's constantly evolving. But let's highlight four examples that are particularly relevant for researchers. Google AI Studio, Litmaps, Perplexity, and Notebook LM.
Cool. Let's start with Google AI Studio. What is that, and how are researchers using it?
So Google AI Studio is basically a cloud-based platform where you can access and experiment with Google's AI models, including their latest and greatest, Gemini. It's like a playground for researchers to try out different AI tools and see what they can do.
So you don't need to be a coding whiz to use it.
Nope. It's designed to be user-friendly. You can input text, data, even images, and the AI will process it and give you results.
Okay, so what are some specific things researchers are doing with it?
Oh, all sorts of things. They're using it to analyze data, identify patterns, generate text summaries, even create drafts of research papers. It's a really versatile tool.
Sounds like a good way to get your feet wet with AI.
It is, and because it's free, it's accessible to researchers at all levels, from students to seasoned professors.
All right, next up is Litmaps. We talked about this earlier in the context of literature reviews. Can you remind us what it is and how it works?
Sure. So Litmaps is a tool that uses AI to map out the landscape of research on a particular topic. You start with a seed paper, which is basically just a key paper on the topic you're interested in.
Like the one that got you started down this research rabbit hole.
Exactly. And Litmaps will analyze that paper and then search for other papers that are related to it based on citations. It creates these really cool visual maps that show how different papers are connected, kind of like a family tree of research.
It helps you see the big picture of the research area.
Yeah, and it can help you discover papers that you might not have found through traditional keyword searches because they use different terminology but are still relevant to your topic. It can also help you identify key authors and influential papers in the field.
Sound like a great tool for getting up to speed on a new research area or for finding hidden gems that you might have missed otherwise.
It is. And it's being used by researchers in a variety of fields, from the humanities to the hard sciences.
Okay, let's move on to Perplexity. This one's a bit different, right? It's an AI answer engine.
Right. Perplexity is kind of like a hybrid between a search engine and a chatbot. You can ask it questions in natural language, and it will give you answers based on information it finds on the web.
So it's like you ask a question and it gives you a direct answer instead of just a list of links.
Exactly. And what makes it particularly useful for research is that it also provides citations to the sources it used to generate the answer.
So you can actually check its work.
Yes, exactly. And that's really important for academic rigor. It's also constantly updating its knowledge base so it can access the most up-to-date information.
Sounds like a handy tool for fact-checking or getting a quick overview of a topic.
It is. And it's also useful for exploring connections between different ideas. You can ask it follow-up questions, and it will refine its answers based on your previous queries.
So it's like having a conversation with a really knowledgeable librarian.
Yeah, kind of. But again, it's important to remember that it's still an AI. It can make mistakes, and it's always a good idea to verify the information it provides.
Okay, and the last tool on our list is Notebook LM.
Yeah.
This one sounds pretty intriguing.
Yeah, Notebook LM is a newer tool that's still in the experimental phase, but it has a lot of potential for research. It's basically like an AI-powered research assistant that lives inside your digital notebook.
So like a super smart note-taking app.
In a way, yeah. You can upload your own research materials to it, like papers, notes, even audio recordings.
And what does it do with all that?
It analyzes your materials and can then answer questions about them, summarize information, create outlines, even generate new text based on your notes.
It's like having an AI that's read all your research and is ready to help you synthesize and make sense of it.
Exactly. And because it's grounded in your own materials, it can provide more personalized and relevant insights than a general-purpose AI.
That's pretty cool. So it's like a customized AI research assistant that's tailored to your specific research project.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's still early days for Notebook LM, but it has a lot of potential to transform the way researchers work.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about how AI is changing research, the potential pitfalls, some specific tools researchers are using, and even some of the bigger ethical and philosophical questions AI raises. So to wrap up, what are your key takeaways for researchers who are navigating this brave new world of AI?
Well, I think the main thing is to approach AI with a balanced perspective. Recognize its immense potential, but also be aware of its limitations and potential risks.
Don't be afraid to use it, but don't be naive about it either.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that AI is ultimately a tool. It's up to us as humans to decide how we use it, to set ethical guidelines, and to ensure that it's used to benefit society as a whole.
So in a sense, AI is a reflection of ourselves, both our ingenuity and our flaws.
That's a good way to put it. And I think the future of research will be shaped by how we choose to integrate AI into the process.
It's an exciting time to be a researcher, that's for sure.
It is. And I'm optimistic that AI will ultimately help us make new discoveries and solve some of the world's most pressing problems. But it's up to us to use it wisely.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive today. We hope this has given you a good overview of the evolving landscape of AI in research.
It's been a pleasure.
And for those of you listening who are involved in research, we'd love to hear your thoughts on how AI is impacting your work. Feel free to leave a comment on our website or reach out to us on social media. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
And don't forget to stay curious.
Absolutely. Curiosity is what drives us forward.
Couldn't agree more, is what makes us human.
And on that note, we'll sign off. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.